In the last video, we created a custom platform alert dialog, and our next goal is to show it when the email signing fails. So if we get back to the email signing form, we can see what we need to do. As you can see over here, we call the show dialog method and we use it to return an alert dialog. Now, if we wanted, we could create and return a platform alert dialog here instead. However, I'm going to suggest that we do something different so that we can write as little code as possible whenever we want to show a dialog. So what I'm going to do is to head back to the platform alert dialog file, and in here I'm going to add a new method. So this is going to be an asynchronous method that returns a future of type bool. And I'm going to explain why this returns a boolean in a minute. For now, I'm going to name this method show, and I'm going to give it a build context parameter. This is going to be an async method, and this inside the implementation I can write return await and then show dialog with bool within angular brackets, and then as the parameters I can pass a context, which is the context, and then a builder. And we have seen that this is a closure that has a context and needs to return a widget. Now, as the widget, I'm going to return this, and I will also explain this in a second. And here I can just return with a semicolon. Now, there are a few things that I need to explain about this code that I've just written. So let's break this down step by step. As you can see, in here I'm calling await and then show dialog, and I'm using bool as a parameter. So let's take a look at the documentation for show dialog so that we can better understand this. So the first thing that I want to point out is that show dialog returns a future, and it only returns when the dialog has been dismissed. So this is very useful because it means that if we want to run some code only after the dialog has been dismissed, all we have to do is to call await show dialog and then run our code. But there is more. As you can see, the method defines a type t using generics, and a value of type t is returned as a future. Now, we have seen before that we can dismiss a dialog by calling navigator of context.pop. However, what we have not seen is that we can pass a value to the pop method, and this value will be returned inside the future when the dialog is dismissed. So, not only we have a convenient way of waiting until the dialog has been dismissed, but we can also choose to specify a return value that we will receive when the dialog has been dismissed. And this can be quite useful. To see why, let me show you a diagram. So in this case, we have a dialog that we can use to ask the user if he wants to log out. And this dialog has two buttons. What we can do with this is to specify two callbacks so that when the user taps on cancel, we will call navigator.pop with false, and when the user taps on logout, we will call navigator.pop with true. And with this setup, we can check if the user opted to log out by just reading the value that is returned by show dialog. In any case, the simple dialog that we have created so far only has one button, and so for now we don't need to worry too much about the return type, and we will get back to this a little bit later. So let's get back to Android Studio and continue. Okay, so after all this theory, I feel that we are ready to show that our dialog works. So we can head back to our email signing form, and in here I'm going to remove all this code, and I'm going to replace it by using our new platform alert dialog. So here I can create a platform alert dialog like this. I'm going to import it so that it's available. And in here I can pass the parameters. So the title, which is going to be sign in failed. And then the content will be error.toString like this. And the default action text where I can just say OK like this. And this code creates the dialog for me, but I also need to show it. So in order to do that, I can just say .show, and I can pass the context like this. And at this stage, I should be able to hot reload. And if I now try to sign in on my iOS simulator, I can see that the dialog appears and it's a Cupertino type dialog. And we can check that the dialog also works on Android. So I can pop up my Android emulator over here and I can dismiss this dialog that we had from earlier on. I can select the Android emulator and I can hot reload. And if I try to sign in over here, then the dialog appears once again. And if I want, I can show the devices side by side. And this shows that our platform-aware dialog is working as intended because we have different styles for material design and Cupertino. Okay, so let's continue on the next video.